This is Big Bob with my 2 bob's worth, and you don't get much for 2 bob these days. Our photo finish at Cardinia Park was a heartening heartstopper for Crows fans who were thwarted by one player, Cameron, and the numerous number of goals he accumulated with both distance, accuracy and regularity. Still, that cannot disguise the fact that fundamental cracks remain that cannot be wallpapered over with band-aid solutions following the woeful, and there is only one word for it, woeful display the previous week versus the Hawks, and it would be quite useless to attempt to explain the explanations with regards to that disgraceful display. However, nothing comes from nowhere, and ipso facto, everything comes from everywhere, and ergo, why are we surprised by this? The writing has been on the wall as midfield clearances have been our Achilles heel all year and hindered any chance of getting on the front foot, and so it proved again to be that weekend. But as we drill down, there are many disturbing trends creeping out of the shadows and into the spotlight that stem from systemic weaknesses that were exposed throughout that game. And this applies just as much to the off-field approach as to what happens on-field, for after all, everything comes from everywhere, as previously stated, and as is well understood by close observers of the game, going back to the days of those doyens of football punditry like Laurie Jervis, an old-style journalist who did his best work at the front bar and didn't mind one or two, unlike my mate Wally here, who never touches the stuff, unless he's alone or with somebody else, if you get the drift of my meaning. Yes, the likes of Laurie Jervis, not to be confused with that port-loving umpire, that swine Laurie Sweeney, and the likes of Gordon Schwartz, Eldon Crouch, Merv Argos and the rest of them, a tradition that continues to this day vis-a-vis the solid and groundbreaking work of that dynamic duo who have done so much to elevate the game of rugby league over the past several seasons and now find themselves up to their gorgonzolas in shimmy whoosh territory vis-a-vis the Olympics and Gay Parry, and here I refer of course to Roy and HG. Some call them flim-flam men, not me, I hasten to add, for I hold them in high regard and rate them as the renaissance men of Australian sport, and I defy anyone to argue with that stone-cold fact. Obviously, the Aussie team gets a lift and a kick up the backside every time they tune in to listen to them, and consequently their fingerprints are all over the gold, silver and bronze amassed thus far with several days to go. However, there is one glaring omission from the questions that need to be asked by Roy and HG vis-a-vis the Olympics, and that is as plain as the nose on your face, and that is why, after all these years, has woodchopping remained unendorsed as an Olympic event. It's a disgrace, and one that will have the short-sighted powers that be red-faced in years to come when woodchopping emerges as a genuine bona fide sport at an international level, and I, for one, can't wait. That having been said, the fact of the matter remains the Crows find themselves languishing at the bottom of the ladder and getting used to the view from there. And there lies the rub. Are they liking the view from there too much? Are they too comfortable? Have they forgotten what it feels like to stand on the podium and see the world from a winner's perspective, where the view is picturesque and sublime? What do they stand for? What is their ethos? Do they have an ethos or a creed, a la Foss Williams? What is the DNA of the club, and does it have one? These are questions that I'm not afraid to ask and must be answered before they can attempt to climb from their cellar dweller status one rung at a time, whilst avoiding sliding back down snake-wise at all costs. And it starts at the top. Is there a lack of protein in their diet? Gone are the days when the coach would throw a raw T-bone into the middle and the players would go hammer and tongs to see who could show enough mongrel and scrap and bite their way to grab the prize and rip it to shreds with their bare hands before wolfing it down, much to the horror, delight and shame of their fellow teammates who had been outmanoeuvred, outmuscled, outthought by the eventual victor, whoever it might have turned out to be on any given occasion. I'm not advocating we return to those primal bygone days before we all had multiple passwords, not by any stretch, but let's take the essence of the lessons learned by such an exercise, bring it into the 21st century and apply those same principles so that players of today can rediscover their inner mongrel that is so essential in the game and always will be, in getting your hands on the agate and delivering it lace out to a teammate up the field. In other words, restore the core values of the game we all love. And I'm sure you can't disagree with all that, Wally, as you were one of the fiercest competitors the game has ever seen and always left nothing in the tank with no pussyfooting around. The stick and the carrot, that's what I say, and for too long we've had too much carrot and not enough stick. That's the short answer, and at this juncture I have no more to say on the matter. Thanks for listening. You've been hearing and feeling Big Bob with my 2 bob's worth, whether you like it or not, and you don't get much for 2 bob these days. Until next time, when the sun's coming up, Johnny Cakes on the griddle, life ain't nothing but a funny riddle, ooh blue.